Okay, so good evening once again. My name is Emeka Gold, and it is nice to have all of you here this evening. So, if you can hear me, just indicate again so that I can fire on. Okay, yes, Fishayo. Okay, good, Ore. Okay, nice one. Okay, good. Okay, okay, good. Okay, thank you very much. So, I'm delighted to welcome you guys to this tutorial. Okay, over the years, I have worked with students, and it's very obvious that most students struggle with writing their project, especially the beginning aspect of project writing. That's the chapter one, background of the study. And most times, from experience, lecturers will take their time and use their red pen and counsel and you know cancel to a point that some students get frustrated, and they don't even know what to do. So for the past couple of years, I use this as a part of my community service to students, to bring them on board, on how to go about their studies, especially as regards to project writing. Okay, okay. So that's having been said, I will take us through some of the things I feel that you need to know that will enhance your writing, abilities. So it may not be limited to whatever I will say here, okay? And then whatever I will tell you should not be taken to mean that they are more than whatever your supervisor will tell you, okay? So whatever I will tell you in this course will just be something to boost whatever your supervisor, your teachers will teach you, okay? So that you don't take mine to be a supervising theory or whatever you can call it. Okay, so let's just have that at the back of our mind, okay, and as we drive into the program. Okay, so I've shared my screen and my slide now. So I want to be sure we can see it. Okay, now as we progress, I don't know how many departments are here currently, but I feel no matter the department you are in, we can be able to cover at least to a very large extent what you will need in your chapter one. So that being said, I will be needing somebody to supply us a topic, a topic that we can work with as a template, or something we can work with to use to do some examples. Okay. So as we progress now, we'll call for that. Okay. So uh, there are basic things that I actually ask students to do, especially with their project, and that is, I usually ask them, before you start writing a project, try to read through different journals. Try to download different articles, that has been written, in the area of your study, so that it will help you to have an understanding of what other scholars, are talking about, especially in that topic you're about to write. Because in research, it's assumed that one person, does not make an ocean in research. So you corroborate what other scholars have actually done to boost your own points. So that being said, I'm sure most of your teachers would have told you to download journals. In fact, in my school in Babcock University, some departments will compulsorily make students to download journals, read them, summarize them, and even submit it for grading. And the whole essence is for you to, it's assumed that if you've read like 20 journals or 50, as the case may be, you'd have had a lot of knowledge or ideas about what problem is existing in that your area of research. Okay, so that being said, it will be nice to look into it. So when you are trying to write your background of the study, you need to actually have a good understanding of the topic you are looking at. Okay, so when you are looking at that topic, first of all, you need to know what is the main issue you are trying to solve, or you're trying to bring on board. What is the main issue? So in this my PowerPoint, I've termed it, what is the prevailing issue in that research topic. So that issue in that research topic will help you to be able to know how to drive your points down. So if you don't know what problem is existing in that topic, you might just be writing and writing and writing, and you may not really hit the point, because research is about solving a problem. So if you are beginning your background and you are not able to make clear the problem that is existing, then it's difficult for you to convince your reader that this is actually the problem that is existing. Okay, so having said that, you need to be able to present that problem. You present it in a way that someone who is reading your topic, or who is reading your background of the study, or even your entire project, if just from the first paragraph of your study, will be able to see what the problem is. Okay, so but once I'm done with this, we're going to use somebody's topic to be able to drive this point home. Okay, now in that same background of the study, you should be able to show your problems from the point of your dependent variables. I don't know, in some departments, dependent and independent variable are well treated, or are well talked about in the way that students are able to understand it. Now, in research, there is usually a dependent and an independent variable. Okay, it's assumed that these two variables have relationship or have effect on each other. Okay, whereas a dependent variable, has a relationship with an independent variable. So knowing that will help you to show the problem of your study from that dependent variable, because it's like saying that the dependent variable is relying on the independent variable to be able to have an effect, or to be able to make sense, or to be able to make meaning. So whereas that the dependent variable is having a problem or is having issues, it means that the independent variable needs to be used, to deal with that issue. Okay, so by the time we also cite some examples, it will be clear. Okay, so having talked about this, the dependent independent variable is like the solution variable that will be used. Okay, so bearing this in mind, it will help you to structure your context, especially in your background, properly, so that you are not misled, especially when you're writing. Now, in in the background of the study, you're supposed to be able to carve out where these problems we've been talking about came from. So what key or what key issues can you talk about in the problem area? In some disciplines, or in some departments, for instance, departments like business administration in Babcock University, let me just be specific, will insist that students should cite the problems in their study from a global perspective, a global viewpoint, and from there they can go down to developing countries, to other countries, come down to their continent, Africa, talk about some African countries that are also experiencing or witnessing such problem in their study, and then maybe get down to the local area of their study, maybe Nigeria or wherever the study is located. Having this in mind helps the reader to understand that the problem you are trying to solve is not just in one area. It's something that cuts across a global perspective, a global viewpoint, and then also cuts across other parts of the world. So it's not just in one place. Now, you talk about the rationale or the reason why exactly you are bringing up that study. Okay, so looking at that, you will be able to cite the impact that this problem has already created, maybe in the society, or maybe in the area that you're looking at the study. And that is the reason why, if it is solved, or if a solution is brought in, it will help to reduce that problem. Okay, now you also need to be able to cite some existing research, or existing study that can tell what others have done and the gaps that exist. So those gaps that exist are exactly part of the things you are going to cover. Okay, those gaps are there for you to now say, okay, having seen that these gaps exist, or having seen that these studies has not really been done maybe in Nigeria, or has not been done in Lagos State or in Ogun State, or wherever you are situating your study, you can be citing that as a gap that needs to be that needs to be covered. And then you also need to cite as many authors as possible who have not been able to do that. And this can be possible or easy for you to do if you already have journals, that you are reviewing, or if you already have journals that you are working with. So it makes it easy for you to drive into that point. Okay, so I'm gonna stop here to get your feedback, and then we'll look for a topic that we can use to interpret all I've said, so it will make it easy for us to really understand it. So, do you have someone who is willing to drop his or her project topic that we can use as a specimen?
Good evening, sir.
Yes. Good evening.
Okay, sir. My topic is fringe benefits on employee productivity.
Sorry. Fringe.
Fringe benefits, yes, on employee productivity.
Okay. So, from the topic, you can see there are two things there. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please don't mute
Yes,
don't
sir.
mute don't mute yourself. Just be active so we can interact and others will listen. Okay, so fringe benefits. So now let's break the topic into dependent and independent variable. Let me see if you understand that aspect. So it will help us to now drive into the study.
Okay, sir.
So go on. What is the dependent variable there?
Okay, the dependent variable is employee productivity.
Okay, good. And the independent
Yes.
variable
Why
is
the fringe benefit is the independent variable, sir.
okay. Okay, now.
Fringe benefits, sir.
Okay. Okay, now, so this is a very good topic that we can look at. Now, for me, if this was my topic, the first thing I would do is to download journals around benefits, around organizational performance and productivity, and all the rest of them. Now, if I read up on them, I should be able to understand what is actually happening. Now, looking at that topic, there are two things I see. What you are trying to say in this study is that is like fringe benefits should be able to boost employee performance. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Yes,
So,
sir.
so if that is the case, you are going to be making a case. Do you get what I mean by a case? You are going to be making an argument that fringe benefits has not really solved the problem of productivity. So that is why I said that you begin from your dependent side. So you begin to say, make arguments like, over the years or maybe globally, the problem of employee productivity has become worrisome. You see, I'm bringing it up. So it has become a problem or has become a concern to
Yes,
different
sir.
sectors, maybe academias, maybe industries and all that. And this has become a global issue that could have been solved or could have been mitigated if adequate fringe benefits were introduced or are available for employees to boost their morale and even help their working procedures to make them more effective and all of that. So I am already beginning a
Yes,
statement by
sir.
saying that there is already a problem. Okay, so let's assume that's my first line of thought. I can go further to say that even all over the world, and for me to begin to talk about statements like this, because they are assertive statements, I would have some literatures or some authors to back me up. I don't know if you get what I mean to back me up. I should have some authors to be able to cite to say that these same people have the same view. So let me give a concrete example. So let's say globally, about 20% of employees are underperforming. This is a very strong statement, and this statement couldn't have been made by me. But if this is how I feel based on what I have read, then I should be able to give a citation to say that according to Patricia Obiche 2020, you know, employees have been underperforming, or 20% of employees in many industries have been underperforming based on the fact that adequate fringe benefits have not been introduced and this has affected their morale and all that and all that. Now, to even make this thing more interesting, one will ask you, what are the measures you are trying to bring on board to measure productivity? Do you understand what I mean? To measure employee productivity, what are the measures you are bringing, or what are the sub variables? I don't know if you understand. So if you have also selected this, then it will help to drive down your points. So at this point, may I ask, do you have sub variables? Okay, so let's assume we have something like effectiveness. Let's say employee effectiveness. Let's say employee productivity, or let's say employee output. This these are some of the things you can use to measure employee productivity, because what you are saying is that how much does the employee deliver. Okay, so let's say, as you've talked about your global point of view, what's your study, the problem that is existing around your dependent variable, you can bring it down to maybe some countries around the world. So you can say, obviously, it's good to start from the developed countries, because most African countries, or most underdeveloped or developing countries, are looking up to the developed ones. So you can begin to cite countries like US to be able to give backup to your claim. So the problem of poor employee productivity is not just limited to African countries. It can also be found in some developed countries. For instance, in US, studies shows that maybe 30% of employees on a regular basis leave their jobs. Do you get? In search of greener pastures. Now, this is suggesting that they are searching for greener pastures because of lack of or poor fringe benefits. But you may not even state it like that. But you're already saying that there is a problem existing, and that is why most of them are looking for other places to work. So you can talk about it, and remember that you cannot just be talking about this, you can't just be writing, you have to be backing it up with journals, with other authors. So they are not your words, even though they might be your words. You need to situate it in other, in existing research work that some authors have already done. So you'll be corroborating their ideas to boost your point. So you can also go further, that to talk about those other variables. You can even say that uh, employee output too has become poor, and most employees are underperforming. Most of them are not meeting up their targets. Most of them are not meeting up their maybe their weekly goals and all that. Some of them are downhearted, at work, because of poor maybe fringe benefit measures, which is not enough or current enough. You can even cite the economic pressures around the world, that is even inflicting more problems, especially in work situation. So these issues, when you paint it properly, it gives the reader, or your supervisor, or whoever is looking at your study, the view that there is a problem existing, and if those problems are solved, then there will be a lot of solution to bring on board, especially in their working environment. And then don't forget the study context. Maybe you are looking at this topic maybe among manufacturing companies, or among SMEs, or among other organizations. You have to also be situating it around that organization. So if you're talking about among manufacturing companies, so you'll be looking at it from that context as well. So you are not talking about manufacturing companies, and then you are now using things like maybe university or other organizations that are not related. It will deviate your point from what you are talking about. So those are part of the ways to link these two variables together to make sense out of it. Okay, so looking at what you dropped here now, you talked about quality of work output, okay, meeting deadlines, and job satisfaction. Okay, so they are almost similar. So in as much as I'm not going to start opening journals to look for information, but the problems I see in all those points you listed now is, for instance, task completion rates. the problem in this thing, you are going to be saying that most employees are not meeting up their task completion rates. I don't know if you get, that's a simple problem. So now you are going to be looking at other journals, other studies, to be able to see how they have talked about employees' poor or inability to complete their jobs properly. Then you talk about meeting deadlines. Meeting deadlines also, you are also trying to say that because of poor performance, because of poor or inadequate productivity measures around in the organizations, most employees are not meeting up their deadlines. Most of them comes to work late. Most of them are always grudging, or most of them are always underperforming. And this could have been, or these are areas where if well if proper fringe benefits are introduced in the organization, it could help to boost their motivation. It could help to make them want to come to work early, make them want to give extra effort to get their work achieved or something like that. Because the only reason your study will make sense is if you're able to show those problems, if you're able to show those problems in diverse, in different ways. Once you're able to show it like that, then your reader will be able to understand that these points are the issues. Now, job satisfaction, most of the employees are already dissatisfied. That's the argument. They are already dissatisfied. Remember, you are coming from a point of problem, so they are already dissatisfied. So if you have figures, if you have data, if you have points that can substantiate all this, and then you'll be dropping it. So you can begin to say things like, according to Akinlusi 2021, most employees in Nigeria are dissatisfied with their job. Studies shows that about 30, about 50, even if you don't have such data existing, you can still give that assertion if you have an author who has already talked about something like that. So instead of copying him, you paraphrase what he has said. Okay, so when you paraphrase it, you're able to bring it up on your own in your own study, because it's now trying to support your view, your argument. Okay, so I think with this I've been able to do justice to this dependent variable. So at the end of the day, you are trying to now say that if appropriate fringe benefits are introduced, fringe benefits can be in different forms. It can be in maybe leave. It can be in maybe giving some tokens when somebody performs properly, or maybe some people getting some additional money or some incentives to help them. So those are fringe benefits. So if those things are introduced in the organization, there is definitely a way by which it will help in task completion. So for instance, task completion problem might be because of most of them are coming from far distance. So what if organization provides a bus that brings them to work? I don't know if you get, as a kind of fringe benefit. It means they will come to work early. What if the organization gives them maybe laptops to work, and they can take it home, so they can even work from home? It can increase the quality of their work output. What if meeting deadline? What if they are able to easily communicate with their bosses or their supervisors as at when due, and get feedback immediately? It can increase the speed of their deadline. And what if additional salary is being provided to them? It can also improve their rate of satisfaction. So there are different ways it can be talked about. Okay, but the point I want us to take here is the fact that you need to situate your dependent variable to be the main problem. So if you're able to talk about it from that angle, then it will make it easy for your reader to understand the idea you are trying to bring on board. Okay, so let's just fire on so that we are not wasting much time on one subject. So let's talk about the problem statement. Okay, can you still see my screen, or should I share now?
We're not seeing, sir. Please share.
Okay, good. Okay, just let me know if you can see it. Please, is it visible?
Yes, but just the
Yes, we
entire
can.
screen.
Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, good. So let's talk about a statement of problem. That's the second aspect of your work that also needs it needs to be well treated. If we're able to finish these two aspects of our study, then we can call it a day. And if we have more time, we can look at other ones. Now, statement of problem is where you situate the real issue. Although some of these problems you would have talked about them in your background, but in your statement of problem, it's important for you to bring them more alive. Okay, so now let's talk about how do you describe the problem. How do you describe the problem? And sorry, I will be making use of the topic that's on ground already, and that topic looks like a business administration topic. So now, looking at employee productivity and fringe benefits, like I have said, the way business administration will look at statement of problem will be different from the way mass comm will look at statement of problem, even though they might have some similarities. But business administration line of thought is usually broader than that of other departments. So let's just go on now. So now, in the area of your problem statements, you come from the point of gap. Come from the point of gap in the sense that what has not been done. But for you to talk about what has been done, you need to talk about what I mean. For you to talk about what has not been done, you need to talk about what has been done. Okay. So in this case, you can find out from those articles you've downloaded and you've read or you've gone through. You can find out list of authors that have gone through that particular study you are carrying out. Okay, so you can have things like maybe 5 different authors who have done something on employee productivity and fringe benefit, or employee productivity and motivation, or employee productivity and maybe job engagement and all those stuff. They are all related. So you group these authors together to say that these people have done something in this area of study. However, you begin to find out the areas they have not done, or the areas they have not covered. That is the gap. And there are different gaps actually. There are different gaps. There can be scope, there could be a regional gap, there could be different gaps. So let's just say that most of these authors that you review their studies have done this particular study, maybe in a banking sector, for instance, and then you are situating your study in manufacturing industry. So there are gaps existing already. Okay, because you can actually argue that part of some of the solutions that have been suggested in their study may not adequately fit into manufacturing industry. So there is need for you to find out the interaction between this topic in the area of manufacturing industry. You can also talk about maybe some of the kind of analytical tools they use in their study. Maybe some of them have used regression to do their results. Some of them may have used correlation, or some of them may have used different techniques actually. But you might be arguing that your own study is going to be using a different tool entirely. Maybe you are going to be using multiple regression. And so, based on your study or based on your investigation, most of these studies, you can list them, have not really used this particular tool you want to use, and that's a gap that has already been created. Okay, because these tools can also affect the kind of results or the kind of findings you get. Okay, so you state that. Then, having done that, you can now come down to also describe the problem by saying things like, because now in trying to talk about your statement of problem, you will not forget your variables, because at this point you're talking about the study from a complete view, or a combined view. So you're looking at everything together, but your next paragraph might be looking at the first uh, sub variable, which is completion rate. So you can talk about how task completion rate has affected the performance of employees. So you can say things like many problems of productivity in manufacturing industries has resulted from poor task completion rates. So you can give instances or give some other points to buttress the fact that poor completion rate is a problem. So if you're able to cite it like that, you have completed that particular passage. Now, when I talk about the impact, I'm trying to say that that time completion rate, for instance, task completion rate rather, what impact has it given? So you can say things like organization has lost funds. You can say things like organization has mixed sales. I don't know if you get, or has become poor growth because of that problem. So it's affecting the organization. It's affecting not just even the employee but the organization at large. So that's the impact. So you're able to to give something concrete to say that because of that problem, this is what it is giving rise to. Now, when you talk about gap, I've mentioned it briefly. So you should be able to now know what is missing. Like I said, it might be from what they have not been able to address properly. It might even be that some of the things you are talking about that have not been addressed has been addressed, but from your point of literature review, you've not been able to see. So because you've not been able to see, you are able to say that this is part of the gaps you are going to fill, and that is why it is important that you do your problem, or sorry, you review journals enough before you begin your project, so that it helps you to have a lot of points or valid points to give or to substantiate your write-ups with. So I think that is it around problem statement. I want to get your feedback, then we can fire on. I want to be sure that we are really following. Patricia, Chidi, Ndi Fereke Sabat, and Josephine. Okay, good. So if you can hear me, I'll just unmute yourself and say one or two things. Is no one saying anything? Nancy, talk. I don't want you to just open up your mic and talk.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, good evening, Nancy. What's up? Okay, so before we move to the next aspect of this topic, can we get another topic from another maybe department or something like that? Is it possible?
Yes. Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening. So is it possible to get from another discipline? So it's not looking like we're just talking about biz admin. Just feel free and drop a topic. Let's trash it, please. Okay, so now the next thing we need to talk about is, after your problems statement, the next thing you talk about is actually your objective. Okay, it's actually objective, and then in objective there are two basic things to look at. Okay, I'm trying to project again. I don't know if you can see my screen. There are two basic things you talk about in objective of the study, and that is your general objective. So your general objective will come from the 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 broad objective of your study. So since we are looking at employee productivity and fringe benefits, so if I am to craft the objective, it will be something like maybe the effect of fringe benefits on employee productivity in maybe manufacturing organizations in Lagos State, or in maybe in Ogun State, or maybe selected organizations, because it's assumed that you cannot just finish all the companies in Lagos. So you select some, and then maybe in your scope of the study you talk about how many of those companies you've selected. Then there will be specific objectives as well. So those specific objectives will be broken down into those variables you are already addressing in your study. So since you have 4 specific sub variables, you'll be breaking down your variables or your objectives into those variables. So the first one you have from what we are dealing with is task completion. So the first objective will now be maybe there is the relationship or the effect of task completion, although you need to relate it to your sub variables again from the independent variable. So you match them like that, and then that's how you get your specific objectives. After objectives, you talk about research questions. Okay, and outside that, your your research questions must follow, you must align with your research objectives. You must follow the same number of objectives you have should align with your number of research questions, because it's assumed that they are driven from the research objectives. Okay, and then these research questions too should align with your problems, because it's assumed that these questions you're asking them just to solve those problems, so they must align with them. And then in some departments you talk about hypothesis. Okay, I know of biz admin, you talk about hypothesis. I know of mass com talk about hypothesis. I know accounting talks about, I know public health, nursing, and many of them. But whereas some department makes it compulsory, some other department don't really make it compulsory. However, to craft your hypothesis, you also link it from your objectives of the study. So, and in doing that, you need to have a good understanding about null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis, because you'll be saying things like there is no significant relationship or there's no significant effect of fringe benefits on employee productivity. So that's a null hypothesis, because you are saying there is no significant effect. And when you are saying there is a significant effect, then that is an alternate hypothesis. And talking about significant value, which is 0.05, that's one part of the things we would have learned in our introduction to research, or depending on whatever they call it for you. Okay, so that is the much I think we can go about this particular introduction of the study. And I'm open for your contributions and maybe your questions, so that we can interact and close this session. Yes, yes, please go ahead. Go ahead, please.
So I want to ask if you have any like websites or applications or materials you can use to get uh let's say research literature. That
Sorry?
is like past research.
Sorry, I didn't get that
Okay.
clear.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I'm hearing you, but I didn't get it clearer.
Okay. So, to know if you have any websites or apps that we can use to source for literature, so we can use for our review, like let's say for our topic, we want to find out on our previous journals that people have done.
Yes.
Do you have any like places where we can get access to a lot of them, or at least for some rare ones?
What department are you in? Biz admin or mass com or?
No, mass communication, sir.
Okay, well, as personally, I don't have a website of my own, but whatever journal I need, I get. So it's actually knowing how to
Okay.
search. It's actually knowing how to search for the journals and what to search exactly. Okay, but the some of the easier ways is to use Google Scholar, and then you're able to phrase your search properly. That is one. Oh, two. Some of the topics you're writing may not be represented the same exact way online, but you might have similar things. I don't know if you get. So
Yeah, I
you'll
understand,
be
sir.
searching around that area. Maybe outside here, maybe on WhatsApp, you can just drop your topic to me, and I could search along with you and give you some instances. So it's understanding the topics around your topic. It can help you to be able to find things around it. That is one. Then two, some of the truth they will not tell you is that some of the topics you are writing on, especially in mass com, some of the topics you are writing on, most people have not really written on them, or many people have not. Do you get? So sometimes you find it hard, but sometimes if you are writing things like maybe influencer, social media, or maybe election report cases and all that. Those ones should be plenty. But there are some specific topics in mass communication that, or not just mass communication, in many disciplines that you really struggle to, find what's it called again? Find journals exact that is handling them. But there are other, recently there are different AIs, even though we don't encourage you to use AI, because most students don't even know how to use it properly. They will just pick things they see. But there are AIs that can give you exact information you're looking for. I don't know if you get but then we can talk about how you
Yeah,
can get
understand,
those
bro.
ones. But they are rare. It's not ChatGTP. ChatGTP might also give you, but there are advanced tools that you can pay for that can give you these things and give you realistic data. Sometimes some of these data we are looking for are paid for. So some of them, when you're searching them on normal Google, you may not see them. You might need to use Scopus. There are other websites that have advanced journals, because those ones are in category A journals and others. So you may not see them in the regular journal platforms. But whatever it is, we can actually suggest, give solutions, that can help you to mitigate such issue. So we can just chat on WhatsApp, and I can just direct you more on how to get some of them. And if I have, because I have reviewed a lot of journals and work, so I can just copy them and paste on your DM, and then you can use them.
Yeah.
Okay, so Josephine, you want to say something before we wrap up?
I wanted to ask, like, do you have like a group chat or something like? I'm
Yeah.
not yet in 400 level. I'm a 300 level student, but I'm just curious to learn more. So
Oh,
like,
okay. Wow, wow,
I
wow.
joined the
Okay, what department?
I'm in public health.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, okay. So I'll just drop my WhatsApp number now. You'll be able to. There's a group chat already existing where many people are. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, 35348113. So that's my WhatsApp number, and the WhatsApp group chat. Let me check if I can bring it on board. So that's the WhatsApp group chat actually. Okay, and
Okay.
yeah, there are a lot of persons there, so you can feel free to join. When you want to join, because my mind is telling me that we might need to do one more class, for us to properly, internalize what we've talked about today. Okay, but I'll
Okay.
have to post that on that group chat to be able to make sure that people are ready, and that will be tomorrow, hopefully, so that we can treat,
All right.
you know today we talked about business administration related topic. Maybe tomorrow we can look at someone else's topic and see how we can make it simple. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much everybody for joining, and this Google Meet is just for 1 hour. Okay, so, and I appreciate your presence and your participation. So hopefully on the group chat I will notify us if we will continue again tomorrow, and till then I wish you a very beautiful time ahead. Good night.
Nice, sir.
Yeah.